Hi, this is Tim Donner. And now, exclusively for our Liberty Nation News MemberZone subscribers, we present a special segment from Liberty Nation Radio just for you.
Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
As we continue with one final shot at our B&B panel, the best and brightest from LibertyNation.com, we continue our examination of the future of the Republic with Sarah Cowgill, Jeff Charles, and Joe Schaefer. One of these days, pretty soon, we might start calling it the O word, because the United States appears headed down the path of oligarchy. It's that gray area between democracy and despotism, ruled by the few and powerful. Exhibit A would be Russia and Vladimir Putin, who was bold enough to simply throw his political opponent in jail on trumped-up charges. Iran, China, Saudi Arabia also come to mind. Oligarchy is something that can and does occur in both democracies and dictatorships. A ruling elite effectively directing the ship of state. Joe, has America become an oligarchy?
Oh, we've been there for some time, really since the beginnings of the first Bush senior administration started staring us that way. And I always thought the best comparison is the Soviet Union in the 1980s when it was starting to crumble. You saw clearly that there was no idealism anymore. The communist ideology was just the way to keep this pack of elites in power for a little while longer, They didn't really care about what was best for the country or for the people. Well, we are seeing that clearly in America today. Our politicians do not care for the best interests of America. They care for their own best interests and the corporate donors who allow them to to have the luxurious lifestyle that they have. So there is this sharp disconnect between our government and the people. I've been writing about this here at Liberty Nation since 2018. Brezhnev's Russia gave way to these aging, decrepit oligarchs is the word. Chernenko gets in there, he drops dead. Andropov drops dead. And what do we have? I don't think it's too cool to say it. We have Joe Biden in there, aged, falling apart, representing this system. I'm full of optimism in one way because he is going to open so many eyes into how this system is really crumbling. It's falling apart. How can you maintain control when you so clearly do not care about the people that you are meant to serve?
So, Jeff, it seems many of the framers of the Constitution actually had little faith that the radical system of self-government they instituted almost 250 years ago would last beyond a generation or two. Is oligarchy what they feared, or was their fear more about the tyranny of the majority, like the old saying, 2 lions and a lamb voting on what to have for dinner?
In reality, they feared that a group of powerful people could hold sway over what the country does and what the country believes. And when it comes to oligarchy, in American society today, there is no better example of oligarchy than what we're seeing with big tech. I mean, we've got the government that has their agenda, but big tech has grown so powerful that it can literally influence the result of an election. It can determine public opinion. It can determine what we think, what we see, what we feel. They have such insight into our desires and what we want, especially when they use it for marketing purposes. But we've seen them already using this for politics. I mean, in that Time magazine article that I mentioned, Mark Zuckerberg had leftist activists over at his house to have dinner to talk about the moderation policies, aka censorship. So yeah, and then you have people from the government. When they step down, they go to work at big tech companies and vice versa. There's this back and forth. There's this pipeline between these big tech companies and the government. And there can be no doubt that big tech is intent on using their influence to push a political agenda, not just a revenue agenda.
Well, Sarah, it seems like the good folks in the heartland have not considered the term oligarchy. They didn't consider that when they voted Donald Trump into the White House, but is it not fair to say that they definitely were driven by their belief that power had been seized by a small number of distant and unaccountable elites?
Absolutely. I mean, you brought people out. I mean, Donald Trump brought people out of the woodwork. They felt they finally had somebody who wasn't going to be a part of the problem. He was going to be a solution. And they have been feeling left out, lower rung of the totem pole for a long time. So oligarchy, I mean, that might not be the word they use because, it's a little bit bigger than, just deep state. But I think you're seeing that they've already known that this has been going on and on and on, and somebody was going to give them hope to get out from under this. And, I think he tried his best, but when it comes down to it, the heartland, they're in a quandary. I don't think they know which way is up right now, but they do know that they don't have an effective voice at the moment.
As we look at the future of the republic, each of you, are you on balance more optimistic or pessimistic? It can be 51-49 or 60-40 or 70-30, but are you on balance, Joe, more optimistic or pessimistic about the future of the republic than you were, say, 2 years ago?
Well, this is going to sound contradictory, but it makes perfect sense to my crazy mind. I think that we have never been in more peril, and I'm optimistic for that reason. People needed to be woken up. I think actually, when I say peril, the greatest threat was Americans slumbering as they were slowly losing their freedom. And now it's being put right before their face. And that's a good thing, but it is a very dangerous time.
Jeff, optimistic or pessimistic on balance for the future of the republic?
Like the saying goes, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Under this administration, we are going to see the federal government try to usurp as much power from the states as they possibly can. This will be even worse if Joe Biden doesn't serve out his full first terms and he steps down and Kamala Harris gets into the Oval Office. That's going to accelerate it. But the good thing about this is that there are already people who are already kind of fed up with this whole thing, with our federal government being ineffectual and only seeking power. Especially on the right, I think it's going to trigger something positive as far as getting conservatives into Congress who will actually do what they say they're going to do and stop the socialist agenda and push for more conservative solutions. I think it's going to take a while. It's going to take over the next 2, 4, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. But we are going to see the Democrats do as much as they possibly can to make the federal government more powerful. But then that backlash needs to come right after that. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Sarah, optimistic or pessimistic?
Well, right now it's looking pretty grim. I think we're on the downhill slide of the roller coaster. And once we hit the bottom, we have nowhere to go but up. I don't know how long that is going to take, but I don't think it's going to be 2022. So I'm pessimistic right now, probably at the 55%. But once we hit bottom, we ain't nowhere to go but up.
Okay, we're going to close with each of you offering up one brief prediction for the future of the republic. That's the only constraint. You can make a prediction of anything you want. Joe, you get to go first.
My prediction is that the Biden administration, which has said, and this is the key thing to understand about this administration, they believe in a rules-based international order. That is the slogan you hear them say all the time. You can even call this just performance theater, but it is dangerous. I think we're going to see United Nations action in our sovereign borders.
Jeff, can you top that?
My prediction will be, I'm going to focus on the right here. I'm going to focus on the conservative movement. What Trump is leading right now, people like Matt Gaetz, Scott Pressler, they are leading movements to overthrow the Republican elite. This civil war is on the right is going to intensify. And I do think that the America First crowd will eventually be victorious. And my hope, this is more of a hope than a prediction, is that the right will finally start to go back to focusing more on local and state politics as well, to act as that wall against federal overstep.
Okay, Sarah, you get to issue the final prediction.
There will be a huge upheaval in the Biden administration. I do not see him lasting till the midterms. So when he goes down and she comes up the ladder, I think you're going to see a huge upheaval across the aisle, everywhere.
Thank you for subscribing to the Liberty Nation News MemberZone, where you get more content, including articles on culture, politics, and current events. I'm Tim Donner. Thanks for being part of the LN community. This has been a production of LibertyNation.com, conservative news where truth matters.
Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Mark Angelides, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Scott Cosenza, and this is Liberty Nation.
Now let's take a look at the LibertyNation.com electoral leaderboard. It's still 238 for Joe Biden.
What if stories and legends can offer us the key to unraveling the hottest political issues of the day and apply their lessons to understanding the chaos of modern politics?
Impeach 45!
Only where freedom of speech is honored can people who look, sound, or think differently be truly free.
If you're discussing something that's difficult, the probability that you're not going to offend each other is zero.
President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Donald J. Trump is now president.
With one click, Liberty Nation delivers tomorrow's news.
And remember, liberty.
Today.
All the time and everywhere.
LibertyNation.com.